In today's video, we're going to be going over the best operators in Rainbow Six Siege for Year 9 Season 3, Operation Twin Shells. We're going to be talking about all the attackers, all the defenders that you want to be using this season, go over the benefits and stuff of those operators in kind of like a minimally edited style of video. So if you're going to enjoy this style of video and you want to see less edited videos, let me know by dropping a like on this one. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. We're going to start off and just go from left to right and work our way down through the attackers. Then we'll talk about the defenders afterwards and talk about their pros and cons and stuff like that. We're not going to go over every operator in the game. We're just going to talk about the best ones. And the first one I'm going to talk about here is going to be Ash. Obviously, she's gotten a lot better over the last few seasons, just down to the fact that, you know, she's got ACOG on the R4C nowadays, which is always going to be a massive positive. Her gadget, the breaching round, actually counters mirrors now as well. If you didn't know that, then this thing here, if you shoot this at a mirror window, it's very easily destroyed from a distance. So this thing kind of got a silent buff when they did that, and in higher ranks and stuff, you're really going to want to make use of this gadget. It's one of the most versatile things you can actually use in the game. Obviously, she's a 3-speed as well. If you don't like the R4C, she's got the G36C as well, which is another great weapon. Ash has always been a solid operator. It's no different. In fact, I would argue she's actually got a little bit better recently. The next ones we're going to talk about is obviously Thermite. Hard breacher, very useful in most situations. This exothermic charge is one of the better gadgets you can actually get on attack. The 5.56 is a pretty reliable and consistent gun. Not up there with like the elite, but it is still a fan favorite. He obviously gets the smoke grenade and the stun grenade, which isn't as great of a secondary option, but as for a hard breacher is concerned, he's one of the best in the game. I think where Thermite really excels is when it comes to like exterior walls, like if you're playing on Chalet and stuff like that. Thermite can be crucial. Just try your best not to get baited by like a bandit or a Kaid, you know. Moving on over then to the next operator we're going to talk about, I personally think it is Buck, and I would argue Buck is just great for solo queuing, and then on top of that, if you are in a stack, he can get even better. The first thing I'm going to talk about is his loadout. The gadget, obviously, very versatile. It can be used as an actual close-up shotgun, like any other shotgun in the game. It can be used as kind of like your secondary shotgun, so you can use it to make rotates and stuff like that, which is its main intention, and it's just a great thing to be able to switch between so quickly. And while we're talking about primaries, he has arguably one of the best ARs in the game, the C8SFW. It does have quite a lot of recoil and kick, so if you're on PC and you're not good at controlling recoil, then maybe it's not the best option for you. There are lower recoil options. Even the DMR is actually quite reliable if you get good with it, but it's not the best DMR in the game, if you know what I mean. And then obviously this thing here, he gets access to the hard breach charge as a secondary gadget, which is what really makes him excel in a solo queue situation. What this allows Buck to do is be able to open up soft walls with the shotgun, open up reinforced walls and reinforced hatches with his secondary gadget. Obviously good gun, good gadget. He's just one of the best attackers in the entire game right now. Hibana can be quite good. She's the hard breacher that kind of excels on maps with a lot of like hatches. So like if you're attacking bank basement, she can be quite good. But other than that, I would rather go Thermite or Ace, which, while we're here, let's just talk about Ace. He's arguably the most consistent hard breacher in the game. Again, when it comes to loadout, he's got a very good gadget that's useful for external and interior hard breaching, so it doesn't matter what bomb site you're attacking or anything like that, this gadget is always going to be good. As for a primary option, he gets the AK-12, which is a very beginner friendly weapon, and then even as you like go up the ranks and stuff like that, this thing will still hold its own. Again, when you're looking at the stats, it is on the higher end of damage, fire rate and stuff like that, and the recoil pattern is not as crazy as the C8SFW was looking at a minute ago. Jackal is obviously very good for finding, locating and taking out roamers. He's arguably the best in his field at doing that. Jackal and Dokkaebi, the two best operators at dealing with roamers. Ying is another one who's very good, especially in a solo queue situation. She can throw one of her gadgets into a room and literally be able to take like 4 people on at once and usually come out on top if playing your cards right. She obviously gets access to this insane LMG, the T95 LSW. Very good, actually. Very underrated. If you don't use this, please do use it. And I've actually heard that the 612 shotgun is arguably one of the best as well, so you can run that if you want to. I personally wouldn't recommend it. I would go with the LMG just because it's better and more consistent across the board. Obviously, she also gets access to a hard breach charge, which it just takes an already great operator and just takes them to that next level of versatility. Ayana is an interesting one because if you're new to the game, she can literally give herself all the intel she needs to survive. She gets a G36C as well, a GON 6 as a secondary, and then she now gets access to the impact EMPs, which aren't quite as good as frags, but she lost those a few seasons ago now. Not quite as good as she was a few seasons ago, but still very, very good for you beginners. The next operator I'm going to talk about is Zero, because he actually has access to the SC3000K, which I think statistically is the best gun in the entire game. It has 45 damage per shot, which means you can literally kill in 3 bullets to the chest on any operator. Good fire rate as well. And obviously you can see for yourself the recoil is there, kind of similar to the AK-12, but it's a little bit more sporadic, so it's harder to control. But then he also has access to the MP7 if you want it, GON 6 again, hard breach charge again, and this gadget here is also very underrated if you're solo queuing or playing in a stack. And then looking at the rest of the attackers, I don't think there's too many other people to choose. So let's move it to the defenders and talk about the best defenders in the game. So starting off then, we got to talk about Smoke and Mute. They have always been good in Rainbow Six Siege. They've both got their own like unique kind of play styles, but they are both still to this day some of the best operators in the game. They obviously both have access to the M59OA1 shotgun and then the SMG11 as a secondary, which is a fan favorite combination. The gadget for Smoke is obviously, it really excels towards the end of the game when attackers are forced to push the site. The SMG, FMG9 has been buffed in the recent season, so it might actually be quite good. I haven't had a chance of actually using this yet. And then when it comes to Mute, obviously he's got the same loadout, boom, boom. He obviously gets access to a C4, and I would argue his gadget is a little bit better than Smoke's because you can counter, you know, just drones and intel in general, but you can also prevent hard breaches and stuff like that in the right situations, and it just makes it a lot harder for the attackers to attack the site. Now, when we're talking about defenders, I think it's a lot easier to have a good defender than a good attacker because any defender in the game can just rely on people having to come to you. So most of the defenders in the entire game are quite decent. When it comes to the best in the game, if you're on console, I'd put Capcan in that discussion because you can just get free kills all the time. People on console don't check corners properly. I guess Bandit's good for obviously stopping the hard breach. He also gets access to a pretty good loadout. The MP7, one of my favorite SMGs in the game. The M870, which is a quite fast fire rate pump action shotgun, so, and again, a very good reliable shotgun here. Barbed wire and a nitro cell, and then as I said, he denies the walls with his gadget, so he's always going to be good. I think Valkyrie is again still one of the best operators in the game. It's hard to take an operator like Valkyrie who's just so simple but so effective and nerf her into the ground. I don't think we'll ever see Valkyrie become useless because even with just 1 or 2 black eye cameras, she's still going to be somewhat useful. Echo again as well, kind of similar. You can set up cameras around the map and use those to their full ability, but then you also have the added benefit of being able to stun people with those drones. His loadout is also not too bad. I wouldn't argue it's the best in the game, but Supernova shotgun's good. The MP5 SD is also good. Bearing 9 as a secondary, and then you get impacts for making rotates and stuff like that if you want to. Echo is another one of those operators in the game that I never really got on with the playstyle, but I do know if you like playing Echo, Echo's like, he's very good, you know what I mean? Moving on down the line then, I think Legion is arguably one of the best defenders in the game right now. You really want to be taking full advantage of his entire loadout. We haven't spoken about the T5 SMG yet, which is, again, one of my favorite SMGs in the entire game. High fire rate, low recoil, good magazine count, everything you can ask for in an SMG. The only downside is he doesn't really get a good secondary gadget anymore. Obviously, bulletproof cameras are good on certain maps and certain spots. The observation blocker can be somewhat useful useful, but it's nowhere near as useful as like a C4 or an impact grenade. But he does get the super shorty as a secondary, which is massive for an operator like Legion. Moving on over then to the next operator I'm going to talk about, I guess Kaid is very close to Bandit in terms of skill level. I'd argue he has a slightly better gadget, but slightly worse loadout. So Kaid's also very good. He's arguably a little bit better when guarding like exterior walls. But other than that, you can alternate between Bandit or Kaid depending on which one you prefer. The next operator I think I want to talk about is maybe Goyo and Wamai. They're both very solid as well, but I'm not going to talk about them for too long. I think Azami is still arguably one of the best defenders in the game. You just got to know how to set her up properly nowadays. Solace has recently been nerfed into the ground. She would definitely be featured in this video a few seasons ago, but she's just so bad now. I hate the rework that they've done to her. I think they've taken the nerfs way too far. And I think the last operator or two we can talk about is Fenrir, because, oh my god, even though they're trying to nerf him into the ground, he's still so annoying to deal with. Obviously, his loadout's good as well. MP7, Bailiff for rotates. And then the final operator we're going to talk about is an operator that I haven't even unlocked yet on PC, but it is Skopos. Look at this. This operator is badass. I haven't had a chance to use her too much. I haven't really been playing too much this season. I know for a fact she is solid, at least, and I think in the right situations and right maps she can really excel. If you made it this far, comment banana and just confuse everyone else who goes into the comment section before they reach the end of the video. And without further ado guys, click the video on screen. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.